Hi, I'm Dr. Kristen Poe, functional health and naturopathic doctor, and I wanted to take a little bit of time today to talk about food intolerances and what happens once we identify our food intolerances. So, first and foremost, more than 20% of the US population suffers with food intolerances and sensitivities, which although not life threatening, they can be very life limiting and cause a lot of unpleasant symptoms. But first and foremost, the most important thing is to first identify our food intolerances, which thankfully allergytest.co has one of the best state of the art lab technologies available for food intolerance testing. So it is incredibly important to get the right testing done and first identify our food intolerances. Once we do that, I think sometimes people are left with questions as to what does this mean? Now I can't eat this. How am I going to navigate around this? And it can cause a lot of stress. So on one hand, they're happy to identify what it is that has caused some of the sensitivity issues, but then they are left with sometimes the daunting task of figuring out what to eat and how to deal with it. So typically when an intolerance is pretty significant with significant symptoms, one of the things that is recommended is avoidance for at least 12 weeks, depending on what the situation is. So, in that time period, I think it's important to identify the most common sensitivities and how we can replace them or navigate them. So, obviously, dairy and lactose is a big sensitivity for a lot of people. So sometimes there is a dairy elimination component. Luckily, some things we could do are lactose-free milk, lactose-free yogurt, and ice cream, and other plant-based milks like coconut, almond, soy, or oats. So those are some alternatives for that. Next one is obviously gluten or any gluten-containing grains. So moving on to quinoa, brown or white rice, buckwheat, gluten-free oats. That is another great way to navigate around a gluten sensitivity, if you will. It's not a grain, but potatoes are in there too. Potatoes are gluten free, so that's another thing to add in place of starchy items that contain gluten. Obviously, nuts is a big heavy hitter. Luckily, we have a lot of nut butter alternatives. So there's like some sunflower butter, there's soy nut butter. It's called wild butter, pumpkin seed butter. Those are some options to deal with a nut sensitivity. Eggs is a big one as well. So a lot of times people will use commercial egg replacers. I believe Bob's Red Mill has one. Chia seeds mixed with water, flax seeds mixed with water offer a great egg substitute, especially in recipes. And then cheese is the next big one. Cheese is always a tough one for people when it comes up, but there is soy cheese and almond cheese, cashew cheese, coconut milk based cheeses that in the meantime of going through the elimination for sensitivities is something that a lot of people will do. And then there are also low FODMAP vegetables that that are lower on the FODMAP diet that can help a lot of people. So carrots, zucchini, spinach, and potatoes. So this would come with eliminating some of the nightshades, tomatoes, and some of the other things that are higher on the FODMAP that can sometimes cause bloating and discomfort. And then lastly, a lot of people are reactive to different additives and things, sugars and added sugars that are in foods. So I recommend using some sugar substitutes that are healthier, which are stevia, monk fruit, erythritol, xylitol. Those tend to be, better tolerated ones when people are eliminating sugar from their diet or reacting to other sugar additives that are hyper processed. Kind of think like a Splenda or like a Equal or a Sweet and Low. Those tend to be loaded with chemicals, aspartame, that kind of thing. So eliminating those things, but replacing with these other things. So these are some places to start when dealing with a food intolerance elimination and trying to figure out what to substitute. So with that said, look towards allergytest.co for your state-of-the-art lab technology for both allergy and food sensitivity and intolerance testing. It's an easy, quick, discreet, and inexpensive way to figure out what your triggers are and then come up with a game plan of how to manage them and best support and optimize your health and wellness.